All right, what's up everybody? So in this video, I'm gonna be showing you guys my go-to vocal chain when it comes to using the plugins from Universal Audio. And these are all stock plugins that you get whenever you buy one of their audio interfaces. So these are not paid for, you get these right out the box when you get your interface from Universal Audio. Now, this would be my go-to vocal chain if I didn't have my hardware analog equipment and all I had was my audio interface. This would be my go-to vocal chain that I would run 9 times out of 10 this exact same setup, and it's all the stock plugins that you get when you first get one of these audio interfaces. What I'm gonna do is break down each setting that I'm running on each plugin right now and explain the specific order in which I'm running these plugins, because that's very crucial if you want to get the sound that I'm getting, and honestly just the most optimal sound out of these plugins. You really do want to run them in this order that I'm going to be demonstrating and showing for you guys. So without wasting any of your guys' time, we're gonna go ahead and jump straight into this, beginning with the UA610B, and we are running this in unison. So if we take a look at my settings that I'm running on the 610B, starting from top to bottom, you'll notice that I have +5 turned on for the gain. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna help us so that we don't have to drive this plugin any harder than we have to, because when you start to drive the level knob, you'll see that right in the middle. When you start to drive that, it's gonna add a bunch of coloration and all sorts of different just sonic character to the recording. And in my opinion, for what I'm going for, I'm trying to get the most cleanest possible vocal that I can. I'm not a big fan of just over driving it. And if you have that set on 0 and your output, which is at the very bottom, set on 0, and you only rely on the level, it's going to sound very gritty, very warm, oversaturated. If that's what you like, then by all means go ahead and use the level knob to make up your gain. However, if you're like me and clarity is of the utmost importance to you, then you definitely want to run the settings that I am running right now. +5 on the tube preamplifier at the top, and then +12 on the output. That is going to give you the most cleanest sound that you're gonna get out of this plugin. And that is gonna be how you set your gain with the preamp. Now, if I move your guys' attention to the center of the plugin, you're gonna notice it says 500 2K in line. Now, what that is that is the impedance. For me, I'm gonna leave mine at 2K. I like the way that it sounds. When I brought it up to 500, it did sound a little bit too dark for my liking, so I find that right at 2K is perfect for the microphone that I'm using. And again, it really just depends on what microphone you're using and your voice in particular. For my voice and the TLM 103, the microphone that I'm using right now, right at 2K sounds perfect. It's just enough brightness and air that I need, in contrast with the warmth from the tube saturation that I'm getting with this preamp emulation. All right, so moving right along, once you have that set and you have your levels right where they need to be, I would suggest that you get your levels right around -26 to -23 LUFS short term. Once you get that all set and figured out, you're gonna go ahead and move into limiting. This is the next step in the vocal chain. So the first plugin that I run in my inserts is the 1176 LN. That is my go-to limiter. I absolutely love it. My input is right about where it starts you off at, and then my output is the exact same position that it starts you off at. My attack is on its fastest, which is 7, and my release is on its fastest, which is also 7. For the ratio, I leave that at 12. Again, we're limiting, so 4 and 8. 8, I guess, could be somewhat limiting, but really 12 is, in my opinion, the sweet spot. And when I'm using this thing, I try to not peak any higher than -3 to -4. If you go any higher than that, it's going to sound completely crushed, in my opinion. And if you're recording into your DAW with this, you really want to have some flexibility in post. You don't want to just completely crush your dynamics. Anytime that I'm recording into my DAW, I don't want to completely squash the dynamics. I just want to tame them. So those loud transients, for example, right there where I just hit -3, that's exactly why I'm using the 1176. I just want to tame those points in the recording where it just all of a sudden spikes and gets 3, 4, 5, 6 decibels louder than the rest of the recording. That's all the 1176 is being used for right now. Anytime that I'm recording into my DAW using compression, I really try not to overdo it with taming the dynamics, just because if you did make an error, at least you'll still have a little bit of flexibility in post. It's not the end of the world. So with that being said, when I'm using the LA2A, in this vocal chain, I only try to aim for right around -2 to -5 at the most decibels of gain reduction. That is it. It's really mild. I've seen a lot of people actually track in going above 10 decibels of gain reduction, and I guess it does vary case to case depending on what kind of music you're making, because really at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. Now for me, I mostly just track rap vocals and then my voiceovers, so I find that right around -2 to -5 at the most of gain reduction is perfect. It's enough to where it doesn't sound unnatural, but at the same time, it's doing a great job with taming the transients and making everything sound much more linear. Now, if you ask me, there is definitely nothing wrong with this setup at all. A lot of people assume that you have to have analog gear to produce professional quality results, and that's just simply not the case at all. You could produce some platinum records with a setup like this. It's unbelievable. It really is, like what you can do with a setup like this. There's a lot of people that record with these plugins and use these plugins all the time, and they're creating beautiful music. For me, I typically don't use plugins that often. Again, if I wasn't using my analog equipment for whatever reason, this would be my next go-to setup. I wouldn't just record using the interface preamps. I would want to be using Unison and the plugins all prior to recording in my DAW. That's just how I work. I like that flow, and I like the sound that I'm getting from this actually. This sounds pretty good. It's on par for sure with my actual analog equipment, so I can't complain. It sounds fantastic. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and were able to take away something from it. I do have more planned where I'm going to talk about vocal chains from other plugin manufacturers out there like Waves and Slate Digital, and I do want to show you guys stock plugins that come with your DAW and great vocal chains that you can run. So we do have a lot more planned to do with plugins, so stay tuned guys, we will get to that. So that is gonna wrap it up. If you guys haven't already yet, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon beside it so that you can stay notified for whenever I drop any of my upcoming videos. With that being said, I will see you all in my next one. Take care everybody, peace out.